What up, guys? JP back at you once again, bringing you guys episode number 37 in my 2017/2018/2019 now shelf by shelf series, which is a series in which I show you guys everything in my collection and talk about it a little bit. So it's now been 3 years since we've started this. It's 3 years strong. I think we're going to be able to finish this time because we finished like 90% of the DVDs. We still have to go back and do a few more that are like box sets and you know, oddities and stuff. And then we got into a big chunk of Blu-rays already. I still have over half Blu-rays to go. This hasn't even been half of the collection yet, but we're close to half. And then, you know, just some box sets and stuff, and then we'll be done. So I think we'll be able to finish it this year. But anyway, this video is going to be my Umbrella collection. Umbrella is a fantastic little label out of Australia. They put out some great stuff. Some stuff that you can only get on Blu-ray from them. There's no region 1 area release. But the cool thing about a lot of their Blu-rays is most of them are actually region free. I do have a region free player, but most of the time I could just pop it in my Xbox and it works. So that's a little secret to Umbrella there, that a lot of them are not technically region locked, even though they are marked that they are. So yeah, Umbrella, great label. Let's get into my collection here. This is all Blu-rays. I do have a lot of Umbrella DVDs, which you guys have already seen, but I do not mix them like I do with Artsploitation. You know, DVDs, Blu-ray, DVDs, Blu-ray, you know, it's just pure Blu-rays on the shelf. So first up is their little sub-label, Beyond Genres, which is a fantastic little sub-label from them. I haven't delved into it too much yet, but I plan to do a video series or something on those titles. First up, we have Volume 1, which is Reanimator. I'd recently seen Reanimator for the first time, probably Stuart Gordon's best film. I personally like From Beyond a little bit better, but I would say that most people would think that this is, in fact, his best film. Then we have Bride of Reanimator and Beyond Reanimator for Volume 2, which I still haven't seen. I do apologize that I haven't seen those yet. But at the same time, Vestron released Beyond Reanimator, which I picked up for like $22 or something. They also released Dagon for Volume 3, H.P. Lovecraft's Dagon, which always kind of frightened me a little bit. As you know, I have it on the Vestron too. It just, I don't think it'll be my cup of tea, so I'm a little bit nervous to check that out. Which also is a Stuart Gordon film, I believe. Then we have Razorback, which, dude, this was awesome. This is a killer boar film, and I really, really liked it. It's also a, you know, Australian film, which is cool because Umbrella is an Australian-based company. They put out a lot of Aussie classics, which is really cool. Then we have this weird one, Volume 5, Spirits of the Air, Gremlins of the Clouds, which this is just seeming crazy. After that, we have Volume 6, which is The Quiet Earth. Looks pretty cool, actually. Kind of like, I don't know, maybe like post-apocalyptic or something? I'm not really sure. It's not as exclusively horror brand there, or label. Then we have, it's actually Beyond Genres. Then we have a bunch of stuff that I have watched, and that is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. This was an awesome movie. I believe this made my number 10 spot of 2016. It was a really, really, really solid movie. Some people say it kind of falls apart at the end, but I don't really think so. It's just, I think some people were expecting a more grand reveal, and the reveal is kind of more along the lines of what you might think. But I thought this was a great, cool movie. I love movies set in like mortuaries or, you know, involving dead people. So that was a pretty cool watch. Then we have Beastmaster. This was actually pretty fun. This is a Swords and Sandals film from Don Coscarelli. In fact, I think this film was sort of disowned by Don Coscarelli a little bit because he didn't get final cut. He's talked about that before. I heard him talk about that on a podcast. But it's a pretty solid Sword and Sandals flick, or Sword and Sorcery, depending on what you refer to them as. But yeah, I actually enjoyed it, and I'm not a huge fan of those type of movies, but maybe I am and I don't know it. Then we have the wonderful body mount. I love this little slipcover on here with just like the little pill. This is a 1990s Australian flick, Ozploitation flick. It is really weird, man. It's a weird, fun one. It reminds me of like New Zealand or like a Peter Jackson film, honestly. Check it out if you never have. I think Severn's actually releasing it in the States, but that was the first Blu-ray. Then we have The Blob, a much cheaper alternative to the Twilight Time release. This was actually affordable, just as good if not better transfer. It was the way to go whenever that Twilight Time company seemed to be getting a lot of Sony titles. But yeah, the Umbrella edition is solid. I recommend it. I don't know if the Twilight Time version is still in print or whatever, but this is an affordable version. I don't know, did they re-release The Blob? I actually don't even know. Then we have the awesome Dark Age, which is another Ozploitation classic. Killer Crocodile flick. Man, love me some Killer Crocodile flicks. This one was fun. I reviewed it, I think 2 years ago for the 31 Days of Horror. Dark Age, awesome. Great cover. Look at that cover, man. Awesome 70s Killer Crocodile type stuff. Really good. Then we have the awesome Death Wish 2 and 3. Recently watched Death Wish 2. Haven't made it to 3 yet, but man, Death Wish 2 was awesome. I think it might be better than the first one. I definitely liked it more than the first one. And I'm interested to see what's up with Death Wish 3. After that, we have another double feature here. We have Death Wish 4 and Death Wish 5, The Crackdown and The Face of Death. Is that all the Death Wishes, or is there a sixth one? I'm not sure, but awesome that they put out the Death Wishes. I love these things here. These things are so fun. The Delirium 60s and 70s. This is essentially a trailers compilation, and the trailers are in high definition. It's awesome. This one has, I mean, I don't know how many hours, but I want to say it's like 3 or 4 hours, maybe even longer, of trailers. I love popping these things in. This is the 60s and 70s here. And then we have the 80s, which is, you know, Maximum Overdrive. 110 demented trailers, uncut, uncensored, remastered in high definition. Awesome stuff here. And they're all broken down into like themes and stuff like that. I watched the 70s and 80s one. I haven't got to this one yet, which is the new batch here, which I'm not sure exactly what this is, just additional trailers, but yeah, these are cool as hell, dude. Can't wait to eventually get into them. Okay, so there's actually VHS Delirium, a bonus 95 minutes of standard definition trailers on here. As you can see, we got Mr. Charles Bronson on the cover there. A copy of The Devil's Rejects, which I actually needed. I didn't own The Devil's Rejects on Blu-ray. In fact, I actually did own it, but my Blu-ray copy does not work. I bought it new, sealed from Walmart years ago, and it didn't work. It just was a defective copy. So I finally got the Blu-ray of The Devil's Rejects. So I was very happy about that. Fantastic movie. Absolutely love it. I did a review of that. After that, we have Cat's Eye, which I did a review of too. In fact, I reviewed most of these titles, if not all of them, in some form or another. Cat's Eye, Stephen King, awesome. Love this movie. A lot of fun. It's an anthology. I actually like all the segments in there. Then we have The Entity, which I reviewed fairly recently, and it also made my number 10 spot in 1982 top 10. So that was, you know, or number 10 or not, I can't remember. I think it was 10. But yeah, this movie is great. The only thing bad about this movie is the ending. It kind of just goes downhill a little bit. Then we have a fantastic documentary here, Electric Boogaloo and Machete Maidens. Both of these are great documentaries. I like them very much. And the Electric Boogaloo is this wild untold story of Canon Films. And then I think the same filmmakers did Machete Maidens, which was, I think, a couple of years before, the Ultimate B-movie Feast from the Wild Wild East. That one was about films made in Thailand, I believe. or something like that. But really, really, really cool documentaries right there. Highly recommend those. Then we have Enter the Ninja and Revenge of the Ninja. Actually, these are two ninja flicks that I didn't get to, but I do not mind ninja flicks. Fair Game. This movie is awesome. I absolutely love Fair Game. Seen it for the first time. Made my number 10 of 86, I believe. It's like I call it a suggested rape revenge film because I don't think they actually show the rape. But man, this movie gets crazy. It's wild, and it truly just, you know, it basically sums up Australia. After that, we have Idle Hands, which is awesome. I watched this last Halloween, reviewed it before. Very, very, very fun movie, from like 99, I think, 98, 99. And honestly, like, super underrated. Like, even with myself, I remember seeing it back when it came out and thought it was pretty cool, but I've really grown to love this film. It's a great horror comedy and totally screams of the time. After that, we have The Jungle, Daniel Radcliffe. Don't know much about this one. I actually haven't seen this yet. But it looks kind of cool, like survival, which I'm a huge fan of. That one's one of those films that kind of got caught in the middle of the year where it was like the previous year's film by the time that I got it, and then just didn't have the urge to go back to see it yet. Then we have The Land That Time Forgot. Pretty cool movie. I've seen this a couple of times in my life. I actually remember seeing it as a kid and always wondered what the movie was, and then revisiting it as an adult, I was like, oh yeah, that was the movie I saw, you know, late at night on TV or whatever. I like these old, you know, 50s, 60s, sort of almost like Harryhausen type of flicks. Sci-fi type adventure flicks. Long Weekend, fantastic film. I did a review for this a long time ago, but basically killer animals, all types, and pretty awesome movie. Australian film. The Man from Hong Kong. This one was okay. I don't remember much about it. I know I did a review on it though. I think it has a couple of different cuts of the film. Not quite sure. I don't really remember. It was such a long time ago. I think it was one of my first umbrellas. And then we move down to here, Next to Kin, which I recently watched. Pretty good, man. This is one that was definitely a contender for top 10 of 82. Very good, you know, very reminiscent of like The Shining and stuff like that. If you've never seen it, I definitely recommend checking it out. After that, we have Not Quite Hollywood, The Wild Untold Story of Exploitation. One of the best documentaries ever, man. Really, really, really good documentary on Australian cinema. Highly recommend checking it out. After that, we have Orca, the Killer Whale. I'm actually not a huge fan of this film. It's essentially Jaws, but not as good in my opinion. Obviously, it's not as good. It's like a Jaws ripoff, but I just don't know. I don't know. I liked it a little bit more the last time I seen it, but I definitely don't love it. Road Games. This is one of the few ways I think to get Jamie Lee Curtis's Road Games, which is one of the slasher-esque films from Jamie Lee Curtis in the 80s, one of the Jamie Lee horror films that doesn't really have a huge release. I know in the US it doesn't have a Blu-ray yet, but this was, I think, one of the first umbrellas that I got, because I was really excited to see, you know, Road Games. Like I had heard about it and never seen it, but it's not the best movie in the world, but it's decent. Then we have Stephen King's Silver Bullet. I'm not sure if this hit Blu-ray in the US, but this is an awesome edition of Silver Bullet. It's such a great movie. It has some you know, special features. I just really, really like Silver Bullet. It's one of my favorite werewolf films, and I hadn't grown up with it, so I hadn't seen it, you know, a bunch of times or anything like that. But seeing it, you know, now, it, you know, only like 3 times, it's definitely grew on me a lot and become one of my favorites. And then finally, we have Suspiria, which I think I have both the Synapse. I do. The Synapse and the Umbrella edition of Suspiria. Fantastic. I don't know which transfers better, but both are pretty good. Suspiria is another film that grew on me. I actually got to see it in the theater and everything. So, That is it for this part. Next time we'll be looking at my vinegar syndromes, which I don't have a ton of. So maybe we'll do 2 things, but maybe not. I don't know. Vinegar syndrome next. I do want to pick up more of those. But yep. See you guys next time. Peace.